And this is a really great lesson for any relationships you have. Hi friends, welcome to Empathic Wellbeing. I am Erin, and today I'm going to talk about empathy. And the reason why I'm talking about this now is because I just caught myself not doing the thing that I'm about to teach you. It's so funny when you notice that, you know, with all of the personal practices we do, and then and giving advice to others about what to do, and then catching ourselves, oh crap, I just didn't do that. I didn't do that time. And so I thought I would do a video about that right now. So I have a beautiful friend who I'm very close to, and yet today when she expressed some difficulties she's been having, I went straight into, have you tried this? Have you tried empathy? Have you tried validating their feelings? Have you tried listening to them and what they're going through, and not without judgment or shame or blame, and just giving them space to vent and speak out loud without trying to fix anything. And then I sent the message, and then I was like, oh, I didn't do that for her just now. I went straight into fix it. So that brings me to, oh, might have just bumped my microphone. I'm trying a microphone today, so let's see. So that brings me to empathy first. Empathy first, teach later. And this is a really great lesson for any relationships you have. It can be a relationship with your children, that there's something going on that's really triggering you. For instance, like they don't want to go to school. Empathy first, teach later. Empathy first, teach later. Or with a partner, they're, I don't know, struggling, want to quit their job. Empathy first, teach later. Empathy first, teach later. Or fix later. With your mum complaining about a friendship she's always making she's always making the effort and not getting the effort back, and you just want to say, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Empathy first, teach later. Empathy first, teach later. What do I mean by empathy first? Basically, empathy and compassion are really similar. Empathy is more about making space, validating feelings, listening, a lot of active listening. Compassion adds on to the, when I look at the definitions of the two, compassion sort of goes that step further to help somebody. And the reason why I talk about empathy a lot is because then it takes you out of the equation. You're really just giving somebody the airplay to speak, to feel, to be fully in themselves and in a safe place without blame, shame, or judgment. So empathy is actually a beautiful thing, and it's free. It's really free, but it's rare. In my world, it's rare. You know, I can, sometimes when I have things that I want to talk about, I'll often talk to myself or to you or to the video, because I'm giving myself empathy. Because or this friend, if I request it from her, say, hey, I just need you to listen. But often, even with people close to us, they always try to go into that fix-it mode. Straight into, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Oh, that reminds me of a time when you're to this, which is a judgment. Or, you know, there's so many different disconnecting comments that people can make that don't actually help you unpack the stuff that you're going through in that moment. Because do you know what? Nobody needs fixing. Nobody needs your advice. They've already got it in them. So by giving somebody empathy and giving them this beautiful container that they can express feelings, emotions, thoughts, all of that stuff, if you're just holding this space and giving them a container to safely do that, they figure it out on their own. They can figure it out on their own. Even children, they come up with solutions themselves that sits well with them, that matches and aligns with their own inner values and beliefs and their intuition. So, however, yes, there is a time if they want advice, then you can actually say, let me know if you want advice. I've got some tips and tricks that I've learned over the years. Got a toolbox. So if if you want that, come back to me. But I think the first thing is empathy. Empathy first, teach later. Empathy first, teach later. So instead of replying to her saying, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Give empathy. I replied and said, actually, I realized I needed to give you empathy in this moment because she came to me and she was venting to me. And so there were two things I could have done instead of going into the fix-it mode. I could have asked, do you want some advice or do you want empathy? Do you want me to just listen? Or I could have just gone straight into empathy and said, gosh, that sounds really hard. I imagine you, and list a bunch of feelings that I'm thinking that you might be feeling in the moment. You don't say you must be feeling. You can say, I imagine you could be feeling this, or are you feeling this, or that sounds really tough. And you keep yourself out of it. You keep your own stories out of it. Just pretend it's got nothing to do with her, and just focus on that. And you can do this. It is easier in person, but you can actually do it on text message as well. And often you'll find it's a lot of questions. That sounds really tough. Are you feeling frustrated right now because you really want to get out of the door to go to work? Are you feeling angry because you had this conversation last week? Are you feeling, and then it puts it back onto them. And you know what asking questions about feelings and emotions does to somebody? It triggers them to go into their body. So they go out of the story, oh my God, they're so annoying, I can't handle this, I'm too stressed for this, I'm blah, blah, blah. That goes into, I am feeling frustrated because I literally had this conversation last week. Or I am angry. Or no, I'm not frustrated or angry. I'm hurt. I am sad. I am tired. But whatever it is, doesn't matter. The fact that they're actually going into the body, that is the key. It's like, yes, and you can see it. If you keep prompting, especially if you're in person, obviously, if you keep prompting that, that sounds tough. And the other tip is repeating back what they've said. I know it sounds weird, but actually people aren't really listening to what you're saying. They're in their own shit. So you can actually say, repeat back, so you didn't want to walk out the door in that situation. And they might have just said that, but just hearing it back from you, it's really validating to them to know that you're listening with open ears and an open heart without blame, shame, or judgment. It's that empathy that once they get back into their body, and what I mentioned before about seeing it, you see their body just go, it's so cool. Once you get more practiced at giving empathy and actively listening, you can see the shift in their body. And it's just a beautiful thing to see, because I guess because I've helped facilitate that, but also usually when you're in this situation, somebody that you really care about, and just seeing them find relief or connection to themselves and peace, it's so lovely. It's so lovely to witness. So I highly, highly recommend empathy first, teach later. So once, and empathy doesn't have to take long. You might be surprised. It can be 1 or 2 questions. Or it can even, and if you can always come back to it later as well. And yeah, later on, if they want advice, they can come back to you, or you can say, do you want to know what's worked for me? Or do you want to know what I just heard on a podcast? Or do you want to know about this blog I just read? Asking people permission to give advice is actually a really lovely, respectful thing to do, because sometimes they want it. Other times they're okay with just having that space to vent and feel heard and listened. Being heard and seen, being truly seen, is so precious. It is such a wonderful need to have met. And I think these days it doesn't happen very often. So if you can cultivate that in your relationships, that will strengthen your relationships so much, and it will strengthen your own relationship with yourself. Well, I hope that was really helpful. Just remember, empathy first, teach later. Or just empathy first. If somebody comes to you or is complaining or venting or whatever, just think empathy first. Oh, that sounds tough. Are you feeling this? That's all it has to start with. And if you don't know what to say, don't say anything. You can just nod, smile, just open your heart and allow them the space to express themselves, because they'll figure it out in the end. I hope that was helpful. I would love to hear if you've had any experience with active listening. Please comment below, particularly if there was a certain story where you clicked in that, oh, actually I need to say anything to fix this thing. I can do this. So I'd love to hear any examples that you have. Also, any questions, of course, comment below. And as always, have a beautiful day. Bye.